What if the walls of your own home could turn against you? What if an innocent game, a simple Ouija board in a school bathroom, could unleash a nightmare so relentless it would tear a family apart and leave even the police trembling with fear? Tonight, we expose the true story behind the Spanish horror film Veronica, a case so disturbing, so thoroughly documented, that skeptics and believers alike have been left speechless. This isn't just a movie plot. This is the real account of Estefania Gutierrez Lazaro, a teenager whose tragic death and the terrifying events that followed would haunt her family, her neighborhood, and an entire nation. From faceless figures whispering in the dark, to violent seizures no doctor could explain, to a police report detailing supernatural chaos inside a Madrid apartment, what happened in Vallecas defies all logic. The shadows that invaded the Gutierrez home were not just stories, they were witnessed, recorded, and endured. And the most chilling part, the answers remain locked behind closed doors, waiting to be uncovered. Before we dive into the heart of this haunting, let me ask you something. Did you know that most people who watch our videos aren't subscribed to this channel? If you crave the truth behind the world's darkest mysteries, if you want to uncover real stories that will keep you up at night, hit subscribe now. Join us, and you'll never miss a revelation that could change the way you see reality itself. Stay with us until the end. What you're about to discover will challenge everything you thought you knew about fear, the unknown, and the secrets that hide in the shadows. Are you ready to confront the truth? The real story behind the Spanish horror film Veronica is far more disturbing than what most viewers realize. In 1990, in the Vallecas neighborhood of Madrid, Estefania Gutierrez Lazaro, an 18-year-old girl, lived with her family in a modest apartment at Calle Luis Marin, number 8. What started as a seemingly innocent attempt to contact the spirit of a friend's deceased boyfriend using a homemade Ouija board in her school bathroom would spiral into a sequence of events that would scar her family forever. The session was abruptly interrupted by a nun who confiscated and broke the board. Witnesses later described a strange gray smoke rising from the glass used in the seance, which Estefania accidentally inhaled. From that day forward, Estefania's life changed dramatically. Her parents noticed her personality shifting. She became irritable, suffered from chronic insomnia, and began having violent seizures and hallucinations. She told her family about faceless, hooded figures that would appear at night, standing silently by her bed, whispering for her to join them. The family sought help from doctors and specialists, but no one could explain her symptoms. The attacks became so severe that during one episode, Estefania attacked her own sister, leaving her unconscious and foaming at the mouth. Despite countless medical consultations, her condition only worsened, and on July 13, 1991, after a particularly violent seizure, she fell into a coma and was rushed to the hospital. Estefania never regained consciousness. In the early hours of July 14, 1991, she died in the hospital. The official cause of death was listed as sudden and suspicious, but doctors couldn't pinpoint what had actually killed her. Her family was left in shock, struggling to understand how a healthy teenager could deteriorate so quickly and die without any clear medical explanation. The unanswered questions and the trauma of her final months left a heavy shadow over their home. After her passing, the atmosphere in the Gutierrez apartment grew increasingly oppressive. Family members began to hear strange noises at night, scratching on the walls, muffled voices, and the unmistakable sound of someone calling out "Mom" in a voice eerily similar to Estefania's. Objects would move on their own. Doors would slam shut without warning, and the lights would flicker for no apparent reason. Even the neighbors reported seeing shadows moving behind the curtains and hearing unsettling laughter echoing through the building's hallways. The disturbances didn't stop at simple noises or fleeting shadows. The family's sense of safety unraveled as the phenomena escalated. One night, Estefania's mother woke up feeling an intense pressure on her chest. as if invisible hands were pinning her down. She struggled to breathe, paralyzed by fear, convinced that something malicious was in the room with her. The sensation faded only after several long minutes, but the terror lingered long after she was able to move again. Desperate and exhausted, the family reached a breaking point. They began to sleep together in the living room, too afraid to be alone in their bedrooms. Appliances malfunctioned for no reason, radios turned on by themselves, and cold drafts swept through the apartment even when all the windows were closed. The family's nerves were frayed, and their daily lives became a constant battle against an invisible force that seemed determined to torment them. The situation reached its peak one night when the mother, terrified and unable to endure anymore, called the police. When officers arrived in the early hours, they found the family waiting outside, visibly shaken and refusing to re-enter their own home. The police entered cautiously, expecting perhaps a break-in or some rational explanation, but what they encountered inside defied logic. Loud bangs echoed from empty rooms, and a crucifix hanging on the wall had been violently twisted, its figure of Christ separated from the cross. As the officers moved through the apartment, cabinet doors swung open and shut on their own, and a heavy tablecloth was found stained with a strange brown substance. The atmosphere was thick with unease, and even the most skeptical officers admitted later that something was deeply wrong in that apartment. The official police report would later document these events in detail, marking the case as one of the few times Spanish law enforcement formally acknowledged unexplained phenomena inside a private residence. The family's ordeal didn't end after the police visit. For months, the strange events continued. The mother often heard her daughter's voice whispering her name late at night, and sometimes she would catch glimpses of a shadowy figure standing at the end of the hallway. Objects still moved without warning, and the oppressive feeling in the apartment never really faded. The family tried everything they could think of to rid themselves of the presence, religious rituals, moving furniture, even spending nights away from home, but nothing made a difference. Neighbors and friends who visited the apartment also experienced unsettling incidents. Some reported feeling sudden chills, while others saw objects fly across the room or heard unexplained footsteps in empty spaces. The story of the Gutierrez family began to circulate through the neighborhood, and soon people avoided the building altogether, afraid of what might be lurking inside. The family, isolated and exhausted, struggled to maintain any sense of normalcy as the haunting continued to dominate their lives. The psychological toll on the family was immense. The mother, once a strong and practical woman, became anxious and withdrawn, barely sleeping and constantly on edge. The younger children developed nightmares and refused to be left alone, even during the day. Every creak of the floor or flicker of the light sent waves of panic through the household. The father, desperate to protect his family, spent nights pacing the apartment, searching for rational explanations that never came. Medical professionals and clergy were brought in, but their visits only seemed to intensify the fear. Doctors could find no physical cause for the family's symptoms, and priests who attempted to bless the apartment left visibly shaken, unable to offer any real comfort. The sense of helplessness grew heavier with each passing week, as if the apartment itself was feeding off the family's fear and despair. Months turned into a year, and the haunting became a constant, oppressive presence in the Gutierrez family's life. The apartment felt colder, darker, and more claustrophobic with each passing day. The children's grades slipped, and the parents' relationship became strained by the unrelenting stress. Friends and relatives stopped visiting, unwilling to expose themselves to the strange energy that seemed to cling to the walls. Eventually, the family made the difficult decision to move out, hoping that leaving the apartment would bring them peace. Packing their belongings felt like fleeing from a disaster zone. Even as they left, the mother reported hearing Estefania's voice one last time, a faint whisper that seemed to echo through the empty rooms. The family never looked back, desperate to put the nightmare behind them and start over somewhere new. Even after leaving the apartment, the trauma lingered. The family struggled to adjust to their new home, haunted by memories of what they had endured. The mother suffered from anxiety and insomnia, and the children remained fearful of the dark, convinced that something could follow them. Their story became a cautionary tale among friends and neighbors, a whispered warning about the dangers of meddling with things that cannot be explained. Over time, the details of their experience spread beyond the neighborhood. People debated whether the events were truly supernatural or the result of stress and grief. Skeptics dismissed the haunting as mass hysteria, while others pointed to the police report and the consistency of the family's testimony as proof that something unexplainable had happened. Regardless of what anyone believed, the Gutierrez family never returned to their old apartment, and the case remained an unsettling mystery. The story eventually caught the attention of filmmakers, who saw in it the perfect foundation for a horror movie. The film Veronica dramatized many aspects of the Gutierrez family's ordeal, though it changed names, ages, and specific events to fit a cinematic narrative. In the film, the protagonist is younger. The seance takes place during a solar eclipse, and the focus shifts to her role as a caretaker for her siblings. These creative liberties heighten the tension and fear, but the core of the story remained rooted in the real-life terror that haunted the original family. Audiences around the world were captivated by the film, many unaware that it was inspired by true events. The movie's release on streaming platforms led to a surge of interest in the original case, with viewers searching for more information about what really happened in Vallecas. Some claimed the film was so frightening they couldn't finish it, while others were drawn to the mystery behind the story. The Gutierrez family's experience became a touchstone for discussions about the paranormal, skepticism, and the limits of rational explanation. The case also left a deep mark on Spanish culture, fueling debates about the existence of the supernatural. Television specials, documentaries, and newspaper articles revisited the events, each offering new theories and interpretations. Some investigators tried to debunk the haunting, suggesting psychological explanations or environmental factors, but none could fully account for the police officers' testimonies or the sheer volume of unexplained incidents. The Vallecas case became one of the most talked about paranormal events in Spain, its notoriety growing with each retelling. For the Gutierrez family, however, there was little comfort in the public fascination. They remained private, rarely speaking about what had happened, unwilling to relive the trauma. The mother, in particular, avoided interviews, her only concern being the well-being of her surviving children. The apartment on Calle Luis Marin eventually found new tenants, but rumors persisted that strange things continued to happen there, and the building's reputation as a haunted place never quite faded. As the years passed, the legend of what happened in Vallecas only grew. People would walk by the old apartment building and exchange nervous glances, sharing stories about lights flickering late at night or unexplained cold spots in the stairwell. Some claimed to have seen a shadowy figure in the window, while others swore they heard a girl's voice calling out in the quiet hours before dawn. The line between fact and rumor became increasingly blurred, but the sense of unease remained. The case became a reference point for paranormal investigators and enthusiasts, who cited it as one of the few instances where official police documentation supported claims of supernatural activity. The details of the police report, especially the officers' descriptions of what they witnessed, gave the story a credibility that most ghost stories lack. For many, the Vallecas haunting was proof that some mysteries simply can't be explained away by science or skepticism. Despite the passage of time, the emotional scars left by the haunting never fully healed for the Gutierrez family. The mother struggled with guilt, wondering if there was anything she could have done differently to save her daughter or protect her family from what followed. The siblings, now adults, avoided discussing their childhood, each coping with the trauma in their own way. The events in Vallecas became a silent burden, something they carried with them but rarely shared with outsiders. The story of Estefania's death and the aftermath continued to inspire fear and fascination. People debated whether the Ouija session had truly opened a door to something malevolent, or if the family's suffering was the result of grief and psychological stress. Yet, the consistency of the family's accounts, the involvement of the police, and the persistent rumors about the apartment kept the mystery alive. It was a story that refused to fade, lingering in the collective memory of those who heard it. For those who lived through it, the haunting was not just a story, it was a daily reality that shaped every aspect of their lives. The fear was constant, unpredictable, and isolating. Even simple routines like eating dinner or going to bed were overshadowed by the possibility of another inexplicable event. The family's world had shrunk to the boundaries of their apartment, and every day felt like a struggle to maintain some sense of normalcy in the face of the unknown. Outside their home, the case became a symbol of the unexplained. Journalists, paranormal investigators, and skeptics all tried to make sense of what had happened, but the truth remained elusive. The Gutierrez family's ordeal was dissected and analyzed, but no theory could fully account for the terror they experienced. In the end, the Vallecas haunting became a reminder that some questions have no easy answers, and that the line between reality and the supernatural is sometimes impossibly thin. The impact of the Vallecas case extended beyond the family and their immediate community. It sparked a broader conversation in Spain about the dangers of dabbling in the occult and the potential consequences of seeking contact with the unknown. Schools and parents became more cautious, warning teenagers about the risks of Ouija boards and similar practices. The story served as a chilling example of how curiosity can sometimes lead to irreversible consequences. Meanwhile, the apartment itself became an object of fascination. Paranormal enthusiasts visited the building, hoping to catch a glimpse of something otherworldly or to feel the lingering presence of Estefania. Some claimed to experience sudden drops in temperature or overwhelming feelings of sadness upon entering the building. Whether these sensations were real or the product of suggestion, the legend of the haunted apartment continued to grow, drawing attention from across the country. The fascination with the case also inspired further research into other unexplained phenomena in Spain. Investigators revisited old police files, looking for patterns or similar incidents that might shed light on what happened in Vallecas. Some found comfort in the idea that there were rational explanations for everything, while others became convinced that certain events simply defied logic. The debate between believers and skeptics became part of the story itself, fueling its endurance in popular culture. As the years went by, new generations discovered the story through documentaries, online forums, and horror films. The details of the case were retold and reimagined, but the core remained the same. A family traumatized by something they could neither understand nor escape. The Vallecas haunting became a modern legend, a cautionary tale about the dangers of venturing too far into the unknown and the lasting impact that fear can have on a family. Today, the story of Estefania Gutierrez Lazaro is remembered not just as a terrifying haunting, but as a profound tragedy. Her death remains unexplained, and the suffering her family endured continues to resonate with those who hear their story. The unanswered questions and the strange events that followed her passing have ensured that the case remains a source of fascination and fear. For many, it stands as a stark reminder that some mysteries are never truly solved. The film Veronica brought renewed attention to the case, introducing it to audiences around the world. While the movie took creative liberties, it captured the sense of dread and helplessness that defined the real events. Viewers were left to wonder how much of what they saw on screen was true and how much was the product of imagination. The blurred line between fact and fiction only added to the story's power, ensuring its place in the pantheon of modern horror. For the Gutierrez family, the release of the film was bittersweet. On one hand, it brought recognition to their ordeal and validated their experiences in the eyes of the public. On the other, it reopened old wounds and forced them to relive memories they had tried so hard to leave behind. The family remained largely out of the spotlight, choosing privacy over publicity, but the renewed interest in their story meant that the past was never far away. Despite the passage of decades, the Vallecas haunting continues to inspire fear and speculation. Paranormal investigators still reference the case as one of the most compelling examples of unexplained phenomena documented by authorities. People debate whether the events were the result of supernatural forces, psychological distress, or a combination of both. What remains undeniable is the profound impact the haunting had on everyone involved, and the enduring mystery that surrounds the death of Estefania. The Vallecas case has become a touchstone for anyone interested in the paranormal, not just in Spain but around the world. It's often cited in books, podcasts, and documentaries as a rare instance where supernatural claims were taken seriously by authorities. The police report, with its detailed descriptions of what officers witnessed, stands out as a unique document in the annals of paranormal investigation. For many, it's the closest thing to official proof that something truly unexplainable happened in that apartment. Yet, for all the attention and analysis, the core of the story remains deeply personal. It's about a family shattered by loss, fear, and the unknown. Their experiences serve as a reminder that behind every ghost story are real people trying to make sense of the inexplicable. The Gutierrez family's ordeal continues to resonate because it taps into universal fears: the loss of a loved one, the terror of the unknown, and the helplessness that comes when reality itself seems to unravel. As time goes on, the story of Vallecas has taken on a life of its own. It's retold in classrooms, whispered at sleepovers, and dissected by those who crave answers to life's biggest mysteries. Each retelling adds new details, blurs old ones, and keeps the legend alive for new generations. The apartment on Calle Luis Marin, once just another building in Madrid, has become a landmark for those drawn to the supernatural, a place where the boundary between the living and the dead seems especially thin. For some, the Vallecas haunting is a cautionary tale about the dangers of curiosity and the unknown. For others, it's a story of grief and the ways trauma can manifest in unexpected forms. Whether viewed as a genuine supernatural event or a tragic case of psychological distress, the impact of what happened to the Gutierrez family cannot be denied. Their story endures because it forces us to confront the limits of our understanding and the shadows that sometimes linger just out of sight. For those who have lived in the apartment since, the stories have never really faded. Some tenants claim nothing unusual has ever happened, while others move out quickly, unwilling to discuss their reasons. The building's reputation persists, fueled by decades of rumors and the chilling details of the original case. Whether the haunting continues or not, the sense of dread associated with that address remains strong in the minds of locals. The legacy of the Vallecas haunting is more than just a ghost story. It's a reminder of how tragedy can leave invisible scars, and how the search for answers can sometimes lead to even more questions. The Gutierrez family's ordeal is a testament to the power of fear, grief, and the unknown. Even now, people are drawn to their story, searching for clues, explanations, or perhaps just a reason to believe that there is more to the world than what we can see. The story also highlights the way communities respond to fear. In Vallecas, neighbors became wary, sharing warnings and avoiding the building after dark. Children grew up hearing about the haunted apartment, and parents used the tale to discourage risky behavior. The case became woven into the local folklore, shaping how people thought about the supernatural and the boundaries of everyday life. Even those who didn't believe in ghosts felt uneasy passing by the infamous address. As the years passed, the Gutierrez family tried to rebuild their lives. Moving away offered some relief, but the memories of what happened never truly left them. They learned to live with the lingering anxiety and unanswered questions, each member coping in their own way. The story of Estefania's death and the events that followed became a private pain, rarely discussed but always present. The haunting's legacy was not just in the apartment, but in the lives it changed forever. Over time, the Vallecas haunting has inspired countless theories and debates. Some psychologists suggest that the family's experiences were the result of intense stress and grief, possibly amplified by suggestion and fear. Others insist that the sheer number of witnesses, including police officers and neighbors, points to something truly inexplicable. The enduring mystery has kept researchers and enthusiasts returning to the case, searching for evidence that might finally explain what happened. Despite all the speculation, the essential facts remain unchanged. A young woman died suddenly after a disturbing series of events, and her family was left to endure months of terror in their own home. The combination of official documentation, personal testimony, and public fascination has ensured that the Vallecas case remains one of the most compelling and unsettling stories in the history of the paranormal. It stands as a stark reminder that some questions may never be answered, no matter how much we want them to be. For many, the story of Vallecas is not just about ghosts or unexplained events, but about the pain of losing someone and the desperate need for closure. The Gutierrez family's struggle to find answers mirrors the universal experience of grief, where logic and reason often fall short. Their ordeal resonates because it taps into the fear that tragedy can strike without warning, and that sometimes the world offers no explanations or comfort. The apartment on Calle Luis Marin remains a symbol of this uncertainty. People still walk past it with a sense of unease, and its story continues to be told in hushed tones. The haunting has become part of the neighborhood's identity, a reminder that even ordinary places can hold extraordinary secrets. The legacy of Estefania's death and the events that followed endures, not just in the records and reports, but in the memories and imaginations of everyone who hears the tale. Some believe that the Vallecas haunting was a warning about the dangers of tampering with the unknown. The story has been used to caution young people against experimenting with Ouija boards and other occult practices, emphasizing that curiosity can sometimes have unintended and lasting consequences. The fear generated by the case has outlived the events themselves, becoming a part of local tradition and a source of endless fascination for those drawn to the mysterious. Others see the story as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Despite everything they endured, the Gutierrez family managed to move forward, building new lives while carrying the weight of their experiences. Their ability to survive such trauma, even if the scars never fully healed, offers a measure of hope amid the darkness. The Vallecas case is a reminder that even in the face of terror and loss, people can find ways to endure and adapt. The fascination with the Vallecas haunting shows no sign of fading. Each new generation discovers the story through films, documentaries, and online discussions, adding their own interpretations and questions. The case has become a touchstone for anyone interested in the supernatural, a story that refuses to be forgotten. Its details are debated, its mysteries dissected, but the core remains unchanged. A family confronted something they could not understand, and their lives were changed forever. In the end, the true horror of the Vallecas case lies not in the possibility of ghosts, but in the uncertainty that lingers. The unanswered questions, the unexplained events, and the enduring sense of fear have ensured that the story continues to haunt those who encounter it. Whether viewed as a genuine haunting or a tragic episode of collective trauma, the legacy of Estefania Gutierrez Lazaro and her family endures as one of the most chilling and compelling mysteries in modern history. Even now, decades later, the Vallecas apartment stands as a silent witness to everything that happened. People still leave flowers at the entrance, some in memory of Estefania, others as a gesture to whatever might still linger inside. The building's atmosphere feels heavy, as if the walls themselves remember the suffering and fear that once filled its rooms. For those who lived through it, the memories are impossible to shake, resurfacing in dreams and quiet moments. The story of the Vallecas haunting endures because it is more than just a tale of the supernatural. It is a story about loss, fear, and the limits of human understanding. The unanswered questions and the pain left behind have woven themselves into the fabric of the neighborhood and the lives of everyone touched by the case. Whether the truth will ever be known remains uncertain, but the legacy of what happened in that apartment will never truly fade. For the Gutierrez family, life eventually settled into a new routine, but the shadow of Vallecas followed them. They learned to live with the silence, to accept that some things would never make sense. The mother kept a small photograph of Estefania on her bedside table, a quiet reminder of the daughter she lost and the mysteries that would never be solved. The siblings, grown and scattered, carried their own memories, sometimes talking about the past in hushed voices, sometimes choosing to forget. The Vallecas haunting remains a powerful reminder that the most terrifying stories are often those rooted in reality. The fear, the grief, and the unanswered questions have given the case a lasting place in the world of the unexplained. As long as people search for meaning in the unknown, the story of Estefania and her family will continue to echo, a chilling testament to the fact that some mysteries are destined to remain unsolved. The shadows of Vallecas still linger, and the true story behind Veronica leaves us with more questions than answers. But now, I want to hear from you. Do you believe there are forces out there that defy explanation? Or do you think everything that happened to the Gutierrez family has a rational cause? Share your thoughts and your own experiences with the unexplained in the comments below. Your story might just be the key to unlocking another mystery. If this story sent chills down your spine, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. That's the only way to guarantee you won't miss the next real-life case that could change the way you see the world. Your support helps us keep uncovering the darkest, most mind-bending mysteries out there. And don't go anywhere. The next video on your screen dives even deeper into another terrifying true story you won't want to miss. Thanks for watching. I'm Jack, and I'll see you in the shadows.